to me, and I can't believe they're lost. Wish I could remember where I was when this began. Another drink, I start to think the bottle is my friend. My friend. My friend. Long black limousine, won't you drive me home? I've been drinking all damn day, and now I got to go. Now if you see that limousine driving down the street, take my advice, no, don't think twice, call the state police. Oh. Well, take another drink, the next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. Well, I don't care what you think, I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, 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 it won't be long. Oh, take another drink, the next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. Well, I don't care what you think, I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. Take another drink, the next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. Well, I don't care what you think, I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. No, it won't be long. Oh, take another drink, the next round is on me. Tequila, whiskey, beer, or gin. Well, I don't care what you think, I'm getting drunk again, and it won't be long. No, 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 it won't be long.
It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. Across the web, on Fight Now TV, and on radio stations around the world. It's the only daily boxing talk radio show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Talking Boxing with Billy C. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. Today's show is being brought to you in part by The Gentleman Boxer. If you're looking for a good read, then look no further than right here, baby. The Gentleman Boxer is a fantastic story written by Ian Grumeza. It tells the story of Joe Grimm and a lot of other fine bantamweight fighters of the roaring 1920s. The Gentleman Boxer is a must-read that can be found where all good books are sold, including Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, or you can get it directly from the author's website by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on one of the Gentleman Boxer banners. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Titty Grab game. If you're looking for a fun game to play with couples and maybe a couple of drinks or whatever, we'll look no further than the Titty Grab game. You could get all the information about the game, where to find it, all that happy stuff by visiting their website, www.tittygrab.com. And today's show is being brought to us in part by the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame and their inaugural event, which is taking place July 10th in Fort Lauderdale. You can get all the information about this fantastic event that I'm sure you're going to want to be part of. Especially it comes with a meal, so you get to eat, But visit www.wban.com for all the information. Now, if you can't make it to Fort Lauderdale on July 10th, fear not, because we're going to be broadcasting the whole event in its entirety on www.ldltv.com. And as a matter of fact, it's most likely going to be broadcast right here on BillyCBoxing.com. That's one of the changes that you're going to start to see with the show. And I think you're going to be happy with that. And speaking about the show, I want to give you a programming note. Next week, we will be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, Thursday is July 3rd. We will be doing a show on Thursday, but we will not, and I repeat, will not be doing a show on Friday, July 4th. We, too, want to take the risk of blowing our hands and fingers off with the fireworks on 4th of July. So we'll be doing that, but it goes a little deeper. We're actually taking off the following week. We will be doing this event in Fort Lauderdale, plus some other things are going on. So we will be off the whole week. So we'll be gone from Friday, July 4th, and we'll be returning with some huge announcements on Monday, July 14th. Where's the show going to be? What we're doing? A lot of new stuff I've been working on. And it's all coming into play, so I'll be filling you guys in on July 14th when we come back. A couple of things real quickly. If you haven't had a chance to cast your vote, who's going to win the big fight, Saul Canelo Alvarez or Arslan Lara? Right now, according to you guys, 66.7% of you have chosen Lara to beat Canelo Alvarez, 33.3%. If you haven't had a chance to vote, get up on the website and vote right now, www.billycboxing.com. A couple other things. We got some fight results. I took one of the reasons I didn't do a show last night. Last minute, I forgot that I had committed to covering an event up in Liverpool, New York, near Syracuse. So I got the fight results there. What a fantastic card. Also, we had some fights that took place in France. I'll give you some results on those fights from yesterday. I'm going to be breaking down the 11 fights. And we started out with 12, but there was already an opponent cancellation. So I'm going to break down and predict the 11 fights on Billy C Challenge. We got some updates on Golden Boy Promotions and the WBC, Gabe Rosado, some press conference quotes. All that stuff is coming up a little bit later. But first, I want to clarify something. I guess a couple of weeks ago, we did a show, and I was bitching and moaning. It's like my MO, right? I was bitching and moaning about the referee, certain referee jobs, and we were talking about several fights, one after another, and I made a comment about referee Harvey Dock. And the comment that I made was like, Harvey Dock's a terrible referee, and I went to break and then never came back. And, I don't even recall what the hell we were talking about. I don't know if the version that I looked at is missing the piece or whatever. But although I did have some criticism for Harvey Dock with his non-call of the hitting when Ruslan Pragagnikov hit Chris Algieri while he was down, while he voluntarily took a knee. I was critical of Harvey Dock on that, but I can't recall him doing anything that really got me riled up in years. So I listen. I like to call people out on stuff, but I'm not here just to say stuff out of the blue. I can't recall honestly what got me riled up. I could have effed up and just said his name instead of someone else's. So I just want to, if Harvey Doc is listening, I want to apologize that it was not. I did not mean that he's an awful referee. There's plenty of awful referees out there, including Steve Smoger and some others that I have no problem mentioning. But Harvey Doc's not one of them. So anyway, I wanted to get that out of the way. And speaking of getting out of the way, the phone line is open today for the whole show. If you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, final thoughts on the Guerrero fight and the Gary Russell Jr. fight, maybe some thoughts on the fights coming up this weekend. We are scheduled to have Larry Hazard join us in about a half hour. I may or may not take some breaks today. So for all the radio affiliates that are looking for breaks at our specific time, we may not do one today. I'm in one of those I'm Billy C. damn it moods, and you know what? Maybe I don't feel like taking a break. Maybe we take one at 5:30, and maybe we take one at 6, and then who knows? Maybe we don't take another one, depending upon what kind of action we get with the phone lines. But let's start off with some emails. The first one that I have is from a man, Jesse. Like I said, man, what's a show without an email from Jesse? Jesse says, "Hey Billy C, who are your top 5 prospects to look out for this last part of the year? What do you think of Andrade facing the winner of K9 Bundridge versus Molina, or even James Kirkland?" Well, I'm going to be talking about that fight in a little bit later. Listen, Demetrius Andrade, any of those names all sound good to me. This kid is, been looking okay, even though I had my doubts. So I like him facing the winner of K9 Molina. I like it even better, him facing James Kirkland. I want to see more of Kirkland, specifically now that he's back with Ann Wolfe. So we'll see what happens with him. As far as my 5 prospects, the word prospect, that's a tough question. I do have a couple. There's a lot of young fighters out there that I've seen. I know Blue Chip Martin is one that I'd like to see more, but some fighters that are prospects that are on the cusp of being ranked, and I'm talking about ranked by us, not so much ranked by the alphabet organizations, but I would like to see more, and I'm thinking good things for Dominic Brazil in the heavyweight division. He's a kid that I'm noticing some improvement with every time he comes out. So there's one in the heavyweight division. In the super middleweight division to middleweight division, because he's been jumping back and forth, Gilberto Sanchez. He's an interesting fighter to keep an eye on. In the middleweight division, I like Willie Monroe. I got to see Willie Monroe the other night. He's promised he'll come on the show via phone in the near future. He's getting a lot of things going on. In case you forgot, he won the Boxino tournament for the middleweight division that ESPN had. So Willie Monroe is a kid that definitely I think is on the way up. And speaking of Boxino tournament winners, how about the lightweight champion, Peter Pedrov? He's another one. And featherweight Marvin Sansona. I mean, those are 5 guys that come in mind that are, at that prospect leaning towards contender ranking. And while we're at it, I'd also like to see the following fighters that are ranked. I'd like to see what happens with their careers as the rest of this year unfolds. One is a combination, both Gary Russell Jr. and Vasily Lomachenko. We're watching, coming off watching a really good, entertaining fight between those two. I'm curious to see which direction each of those two guys go in. Also, Sharif Bogheri, he just made a comeback of sorts. He had an injury, although he fought less than a year ago. But he was a fighter that I always had some interest in. I think he's kind of raw and he's short, but he's an aggressive fighter and he's fun to watch. So I'm going to be curious to see what happens with him for the rest of the year. How about Keith Thurman? Keith Thurman I guess technically has some kind of a belt or something, and he's also ranked. But I'm curious to see where his next fight brings him and what we can see after that and expect from him. James Kirkland, I mentioned before, he's another one. He's just got that style that I want to see more of. And another combo. How about Sergey Kovalev and Triple G, two fighters that seemingly everybody's ducking. But let's call a spade, that they are definitely, fighters that have yet to have that signature fight, both of them, Kovalev and Triple G. So I'm curious to see where both of these guys go after, for the rest of this year. And in the heavyweight division, I got three guys I'm curious to see what happens as this rest of the year unfolds. And that's Tyson Fury, Bryant Jennings, and Deontay Wilder. I think all three of those guys are on the way up. I think maybe not, but the bottom line is I'm curious. So when you stop to think about it and you start tossing these names out, most people talk about Mayweather and Pacquiao, but forget Mayweather, man. Mayweather's a guy that you should just forget about because he's a whatever. But there's a lot of young fighters out there that you should be concentrating on, and you should be looking forward to seeing, and you should be demanding that we see. And we just named a bunch of them thanks to Jesse. My man Snoop. Snoop says, "Hey Billy C, I'm writing to express my disgust with Danny Garcia taking a fight with Rod Salika, a fighter BoxRec rates at number 77 in the world. It's bad enough that he's not giving Mauricio Herrera a rematch, but to turn around and take this fight, Garcia's an unofficially undefeated linear champ. This is inexcusable. You make the point that fans shouldn't support crappy pay-per-views, and I agree with you on that. To take it one step further, I'm not going to watch this Garcia fight on TV. I just can't support this crap from Showtime. Anyway, the show is great as ever. Thank you for all the work you put into it." Well, thank you for those accolades. And they're getting a lot of discussion about this fight, and I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later about the WBC and some of their statements on it and their actual going head-to-head challenging the power of Golden Boy and specifically Oscar De La Hoya. And I'm loving that Oscar De La Hoya is saying, F you to everybody. I'm the guy that runs Golden Boy Promotions. And he's making a pretty clear statement about that. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later. As far as the Salika fight, I think we got to look at it this way. I have a feeling that Danny Garcia is clearly in the plans for a Floyd Mayweather fight at some point. It seems to me that they're protecting him so he doesn't get an O. So his O doesn't go. Maybe they're trying to use that as a marketing plan when and if a fight with Mayweather ever materializes, or they could be doing something very basic, even though I think Snoop makes some great points here about a linear champion or a champion in general. Is my feeling is if you're good enough to brag that you're a world champion, well then you're good enough to take on whoever is out there. And something with that said, even though he should be taking on better opposition, Rod Salika might be that guy that Danny Garcia needs to fight to show that he can fight, fighters with somewhat movement. He is coming off that Mauricio Herrera fight in which many of us feel he lost that fight. It was a close fight. Maybe he is planning on giving him a rematch. Maybe he just wants a little more. I admit that a guy like Danny Garcia is in a position to get that work in the gym. But I could see where everybody's point it was that, and I can't say I can argue with Snoop on this. Finally, I got one more here. This is from. And by the way, if you have any questions, comments, concerns that you want to email us, the phone line is open today if you want to call, 845-228-8710. But if you do have any comments, questions that you want to email and get your email read, you have to email us. It's Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. We're not doing any other comments, although I did catch a comment. Somebody cut and paste and showed me a comment that was up on YouTube about me complaining about all the champions, and whoever said, "Oh, we do have the real champion. It's called the Ring Magazine's Linear Champ," and actually that's wrong, because we don't have all the linear champs defined, and Ring Magazine ain't what it used to be. It's not the same magazine. It's owned by Golden Boy, and it has taken a Golden Boy smell to it. It's got that Golden Boy promotion smell to it, but. Anyway, Bjorn says his subject, which I really love, he says, Mayweather's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Listen, I agree with that. Everybody anoints him as being this intelligent businessman, and, he's talented, but we don't know if he's the guy making the business decisions. I find it hard to believe, especially when he acts the way he does, but hey, right now, he's in better financial shape than me, that's for sure. Bjorn says, I like when you talk about the business of boxing. We as an audience learn a lot from your experiences, especially the ones where, I've lost every nickel I have over this friggin' sport. He says, now I would like to share with you the real reason Floyd and Fitty parted ways in TMT. 50 explained in a recent interview, and this is a quote from 50 Cent. He says, my role in boxing, me as a promoter, started as a way of me trying to help my friend Floyd Mayweather. I was just trying to help him turn Mayweather Promotions into an actual company. When Floyd was in jail, 50 stated that he started to acquire the talent, set up the company, etc., with the expectation that once Floyd got out, that he would reimburse Fitty half of the investment as his partner. But then Floyd started to express that he didn't actually want to continue as my partner in the sport of boxing. I told him it's fine. I'd sign the fighters over, and to be honest with you, he didn't want to pay for the fighters. He wanted to try and take them from me. It changed how I perceived him because it was unnecessary for him to behave that way. I do love him. I do love and view him like a little brother. He's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. You won't believe the things he's doing. He's like a 14-year-old kid trying to trick you. Floyd's like, send the papers to my lawyer. He's got me sending contracts and agreements to Al Heyman's lawyer, trying to figure out how he could take fighters instead of paying the money for the fighters that we agreed to. Now, I could have gone the other way and obviously sued him for the money that he owed, but I chose not to. So Bjorn says, so 50's fighters were all supposed to be under both Floyd and 50 Cent. That's why they were all hanging around Floyd's gym. He was going to sign them. Floyd ended up losing the better fighters and got stuck with the leftovers, and that's why we have the current Mayweather promotion stable. Well, hey, thanks for those quotes. And I do lean towards the fact that Floyd ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. That's for sure. And I also will tell you this. I know for a fact that Floyd Mayweather does that. A guy that has a lot of money like Floyd actually has ripped people off. And one person in particular that I know for a fact was Don King. He went to Don King and asked for a loan. Now, a guy that's, claims he's got $200 million in the bank, why would you go to Don King and ask for a $500,000 loan, which he did, and it's recorded and it's on Don King Promotions books, and Don King gave him the money in cash, and Floyd Mayweather never paid him back. He says, I don't need to pay you back. That's the kind of piece of shit that guy is. That's why people wonder why I can't stand him. And, it's hard for me, and I admit that I shouldn't put the person in when we're talking about, his abilities and stuff. But for me, and the fact that I like, good human beings, it's so hard for me to draw the line, and I guess it's a weakness for me. But anyway, thanks for the emails. We had some fight results that took place yesterday. One in France, former WBC and WBA cruiserweight champion Jean-Marc Mormac stopped Thomas Lodi in the fourth round, officially at 2 minutes and 32 seconds of the fourth. He's 42 years old, and he just improved to 37-5 with 23 knockouts. Lodi fell to 13-3, a win that maybe Mormac shouldn't be pounding his chest and bragging about yet, but at least he's staying busy. a card that I attended, which was a fantastic card, man. It really was. It was up in Liverpool, New York, which is near Syracuse. The main event featured Martez Potter going up against Maurice Amaro, and it was a pretty entertaining fight. Potter clearly had the better skill set than Amaro, but Amaro did take him the distance thanks to a steady diet of low blows, headbutts, elbows, holding, all this stuff. But at the end, all three judges scored the fight 60-53 in favor of Martez Potter, and he improves to 5-0 with a knockout. This was in the super middleweight division, 6-rounder, and Maurice Amaro drops to 2-7. The co-main event, Aleem Whitfield got everybody jacked up on their feet, cheering. There was almost 900 people there, and he knocked out his opponent, Michael Mitchell, at 2 minutes and 45 seconds of the first round. It was a scheduled 6-round cruiserweight matchup. Also on the card, Chad Campineau made his pro debut. He's out of Messina, New York, which is, it's like the people that still think that the world is flat. When you get to the end and you fall off with all the sea serpents and stuff like that, Messina's like right there before you just drive off the edge of the earth. And I believe there's maybe another family or two aside from the family of Chad Campineau. But nonetheless, he made the trip from Messina, made his pro debut against Luis King. This was a strange fight because I got to be honest with you. I sat there ringside and I was watching the fight, and it was only a 4-rounder. The first round was close. The second round, King dropped Campineau, and was beaten up bad. Campineau looked like he was going to go down a second time, but managed to stay on his feet. So, even if you give that first round to Campineau, you got to score the second round a 10-8. The third round, King again hurt Campineau almost to the point of dropping him, landed some vicious shots. Campineau didn't do much except hang on. So, you have to, at least I unofficially gave that round to King as well, which would have been the third round. So you got, even if you're scoring it for Campineau, let's say you give him the first, it was close. You give the second 2 rounds to King, which one was a 10-8 round. And the fourth round clearly was Campineau's because King was out of gas. But the judges saw it completely different. They scored it in unison, all three, 38-37 in favor of Campineau, who made his pro debut a successful one. He's 1-1. He's 1-0 now. And Luis King, he drops to 1-1. So King was crying for a rematch. In the junior middleweight division, Jimmy Garcia and Michael Black went at it. It looked like it was going to be an entertaining, long, drawn-out fight. Both of these guys went right at it, throwing wild toe-to-toe punches where it was like lightning. The same punch wasn't landing in the same spot twice. But all of a sudden, a three-punch combination delivered by Jimmy Garcia on Michael Black at 2 minutes and 47 seconds of the first round, knocked Black out. Garcia improves to 2-0 with a knockout, and Black was making his pro debut, so he's 0-1. Sometimes when you look at records of fighters, and, especially myself, I complain, this guy shouldn't be fighting this one or whatever. But sometimes you see a fight between two fighters with less than stellar records, but they're put against each other. And more times than not, those fights become extremely entertaining fights. And that was the case with this one, which I think was the fight of the night. Joseph Schell and Dwayne Holman in the junior weight division, 4-round fight, were toe-to-toe with landing some shots, displaying that they both had a decent skill set, landing some hard shots, staggering each other. To both their credits, neither one hit the canvas. And when the smoke cleared, after 4 rounds of, literally, fight of the year written all over it, All three judges scored it the same, 39-37 in favor of Joseph Schell, who actually earned the first win of his career. He improves to 1 win and 2 losses. When Holman, who's from New Jersey, he drops to 1 win and 2 losses. So hopefully we'll get to see a rematch. It was an extremely entertaining fight. Luis Vargas took care of his opponent, Jose Rivera, pretty quickly. In their welterweight fight. It was scheduled for 4 rounds, but it barely made 1 minute. 56 seconds is when the official time of the stoppage. Vargas was making his pro debut. He's now 1-0 with a knockout, and Rivera drops to 2-5. And kicking off the night of action was a 4-round heavyweight fight between Ray Santiago and Eric George. Now, I've seen Ray Santiago fight several times before, and if you've ever seen some fights up at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino, you saw this kid. He comes to fight. He's kind of overweight. He's a lot overweight, okay? He's a fat bastard. But the truth of the matter is he does show some skill set. He's got some hand speed. He's accurate. He's got pop. The problem is that he probably drinks too much pop, soda. He probably eats too much bread. I mean, he's too tubby, and he gets winded, and he bleeds a lot. It's a shame because if this kid, put any kind of commitment in, he could be, a tough out. But because of his lack of commitment and clear lack of training, he's struggling, and he struggled again last night. It was a 4-round heavyweight fight that he started to come on strong towards the end, but it wasn't enough. All 3 judges scored the fight 40-36 in favor of his opponent, Eric George, who improves to 2-6. And Ray Santiago, he still looks for his first win. He drops to 0-4. On a side note about Ray Santiago, this fight was originally supposed to be the 5th fight of the night. They moved it up to the opener because Ray Santiago's wife happened to have been in a hospital giving birth to a kid of theirs. So, you kind of give him a pass. He had some stuff on his mind, but unfortunately for him, in my opinion, I have seen him fight before, and I've seen him fight the exact same fight. So, hey, hats off to JKJ Championship Promotions. My man Jay is working really hard to bring boxing back in upstate western New York, and he's doing a fine job, nearly sold out. I was very impressed with the card, and I want to give a shout-out to the matchmaker, Diana Rodriguez, who did a fantastic job with that as well. So good stuff happening up in upstate New York. So, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I'm scheduled to have my man Larry Hazard join us. We'll get his thoughts on some stuff. Also, on Golden Boy, we'll give you some news on Golden Boy and where they're standing. We got some schedules, who's fighting next, when, where, all that stuff. I got some press conference quotes, and then, of course, I'm going to break down and give you my predictions of the 11 fights that are on this week's Billy C Challenge. So all of that is coming up in about 2 minutes. If you're in upstate New York and you need a trucking company, then you need Roselli Enterprises. Roselli Enterprises is trucking at its finest. They have it all. Dump trucks, dump trailers, walk-in floors, flatbeds, flow boys, tankers. Check this out, man. www.kofantasyboxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
We've got a great matchup tonight. Fighting out of the left corner is the #1 ranked contender.
No, he is not.
I'm sorry, but who are you?
I am the IBO computer. I am programmed to provide only fair and unbiased boxing rankings. This fighter is the #15 ranked contender.
Fair and unbiased boxing rankings? That's a new concept.
Actually, it is not. The IBO has provided unbiased computerized rankings for many years.
Well, we've still got a great fight tonight, folks. In the left corner is the #15 ranked contender.
The IBO, the champion of integrity. Learn more at iboboxing.com.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
As a young boy, all Billy C dreamed about was one day having his own catchphrase.
And we're back. And we're back.
One boy, one dream, one day. Everyone will say.
And we're back. 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 And we're back.
Catchphrase coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. My man, you listen to the Talking Box on Billy C show. My man Jack in the chat room is, and now I'm going to be looking. The Ricky Burns fight is already going on. It's taking place Friday night, but it's overseas, so it's already taken place. And Burns is down in the first round. Hey Jack, just give me the update, man, so I could change my pick before I do my predictions. I don't want to look like a loser, So anyway, hey man, I know a guy who's definitely not a loser. He joins me right now. Supposed to join us yesterday, but I screwed him out of that because I wasn't here. Larry Hazard's with us. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Billy?
Thanks for mixing it up a little bit. I apologize. I had made a promise to a promoter that I was going to cover the event. I forgot all about it. I actually had to drive all the way past the Hall of Fame. I mean, every time somebody says Liverpool, I'm thinking of the Beatles. I didn't know there was a Liverpool, New York, for God's sakes, So anyway, hey, Larry, what's your final thoughts on that Gary Russell Jr. and Vasily Lomachenko fight? I loved it, and I like Gary Russell Jr., and one of my arguments all week has been, I think this is clearly, the reason why I say that fighters and promoters and managers need to, progressively increase their level of opposition for their fighter, because they're hurting their fighter, not helping them by over-coddling them. And I think that that's the case, because I think that Gary Russell does have the talent, and I do believe he'll be a world champion someday. I just think he was in with a better guy that night. What's your thoughts?
Well, Lomachenko really didn't have. Well, he had that terrific amateur background, okay. But I mean, what was this, like his third pro fight?
Yeah, it was his third.
Okay, because Salido, took him to school, and now he's a world champion. So let's see what he can do. Somehow that kind of doesn't give much credence to this thing about experience. So that means that a guy with a rich amateur pedigree may be able to just step right in to the upper echelon of professional boxing. Is that what we're to believe now?
Well, I don't know if that's there are exceptions to everything in every sport.
True.
And I agree with you. I was one of the guys that I flip-flopped on this one, because when he first came out and they were talking about the original fight with his second pro fight against Salido for the title, I was saying, here this guy fought the best amateurs in the world for 400 fights. I mean, what's he going to learn from a 1-6 guy that they would feed him, as he's coming up? And I saw how I was wrong when I watched him not have a clue of how to handle some normal pro rough tactics that Salido, unleashed on him. And I admitted that I was wrong about it and everything else. But what I give the kid credit for is that he probably learned way more than we can imagine in that one fight. And then when you looked at the two fights, the Salido and the other guy that Lomachenko fought, they were by far better than any opponent that Gary Russell fought in 20-something fights. So, I mean, the catch-22 there is, it's like I use the analogy with a team sport. If you're always playing the best kids in a Little League game all the time, those kids that aren't as good are going to get better. When they're playing the better team all the time, they're going to get. They may not win all the time, but they're going to get better. And the same has to be said for boxing, right?
True. Very true. Very true. So, those are the factors. But he made Russell look like the amateur.
I know.
I mean, he fought a terrific fight, man. I mean, he made Russell look like the amateur fighter.
What did you think of Russell? I actually, I like Gary Russell, as a fighter and everything, but I like him even more now because he showed me that the kid has got class. He didn't make any excuses. He gave Lomachenko the props that Lomachenko deserved, and he basically took his loss like a man. And I tell you, I think I like him more for that. Well,
that's the way it should be. See, that's what the sweet science is all about. If a man beats you, why come with the excuses? Are you supposed to give him? You want to discredit him because of some excuse? Oh, I wasn't in shape, or some of this other nonsense that they always come up with. Then you shouldn't have been in there.
Right.
But you have to give Russell the credit. He took it like a man, and hey, he gave the guy his props. The better man. I lost to a better man that night. Okay, and you have to give him credit for that. And also, again, to Gary Russell's credit, he didn't offer any excuses. He gave the guy his props, and that's the way it should be. That's what the sweet science is all about.
Yeah, I agree, and it was a pleasant surprise because I had Gary Russell on the show 2 times, and it was a great interview, both of them. And I've heard nothing but negative stuff, that he's hard to talk to, and he's like kind of thinks who he is and everything else. And I didn't see none of that after the fight. But hey, before I ask you about some stuff this week for the fights this week, something happened. I don't know, man. I never know what you're gonna feel comfortable commenting on and what you're not. I mean, I know you tell it like it is, like myself, but I'm really I'm not a big fan of sanctioning bodies to begin with, but the WBC's got my goat this week, big time, Larry, and I'll tell you why. It's bad enough that we all know the deal with the sanctioning bodies, so I mean, you don't have to beat it to death, but here's where my hang-up is. They're parading around like they're all about the good of the sport, right? And that's the part.
I know exactly where you're going.
I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but it bothers me when they play that game, and really they're worse than the drug dealer on the street corner, because what they did was they put this and they have the balls to call it a summit. I mean, a summit is when presidents of countries get together and they talk about that, not when 3 sanctioning body organizations use the money from the sanctioning fees to go on a vacation like a plumbers convention, and they do that. But here's the thing, they make all these comments and they're bashing the World Series of Boxing, and they're looking to unify and put out a retirement fund for fighters and all these things that they're claiming or they're doing for the good of the sport. And I find out that they just finished their building and it's open now, that the WBC, who claims that they're a nonprofit organization with sanctioning fees and stuff, they take the money from the sanctioning fees and they build a resort hotel in Puerto Rico called, they're not even hiding it. They're not even saying, it's the XYZ hotel and secretly funded by the WBC. They call it the WBC Resort Hotel, and they're building another one in Cancun. And my question is that how can they parade around and the millions that they spent in the development and building of these buildings when, a fraction of it, $1 million would go so far with these guys that can't afford to live in a proper house. And I'm not even talking about owning a house. I'm just talking about a roof over their heads or getting the nourishment that they should in eating daily. These are former fighters that gave it their all, and they're investing money to turn a profit into a hotel. It makes me sick. What's your thoughts?
Did they actually build a hotel? I didn't know that.
I'll and listen, I was shocked.
Really?
That they did it. I'll
I
send you the photo.
I haven't read that anywhere.
Well, they're keeping
the boxing stuff.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it somewhat quiet, but they have it in Puerto Rico right now. You can rent a room.
First off, let me start with this summit. Okay, that's nothing more. About let me see, was it 2000? Around 2008 or 2009. Something like that. okay, when I was at the IBF, okay, this is nothing more than the same thing that we did when I was at the IBF, okay. I organized a meeting with Jose Suleiman, and I think it was somebody from the WBA, okay? And this is nothing but a bunch of bullshit. And nothing, you're not going to see anything come out of this whatsoever. Trust me. All of this crap. Oh, and did you see the comments that Paco had?
That was the best. That was the best of the whole thing, I thought.
Wasn't it great?
Yeah.
You know, wasn't it great about the aluminum and silver champions and all? Did you see that?
Yeah, and but here's the worst part. Here's the worst part. They're one of their 12 things that they claim that they discussed is a unification belt. They called it a unification belt. So think about what that means. Right now, for any division, we potentially have a champion in the same weight division. We have a super champion, we have a diamond champion, these are all just world champions, a super world champion, a diamond world champion, a regular world champion, an interim world champion, and a champion in recess world champion.
A champion in recess. Do they have one in detention?
No.
Do they have one on suspension?
No.
You know what I mean?
But they're going to get another one that's going to be called the unified champion. But the joke of it all is that, you know, when they so-called elevate these fighters, like what they just did to Triple G, the WBA says we elevated him to super champion. So, and now they vacate his regular old world champion, and they're putting two fighters that have no business fighting for a world title against each other. But here's the best part. If Triple G wanted to fight the winner of Gerard Fletcher and Danny Jacobs, the WBA would make them wait in line for that. So how does that an elevation? You know, I mean, it's just they're doing no different than what a street thug punk drug dealer does when they, you know, exploit money from somebody and then invest it in something that's legal. You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous, man.
It bothers me because, and then they have the nerve to word, they word this, we're joining forces, they're talking about the WBC, WBA, and the IBF, we're joining forces to address the AIBA, which is the World Series of Boxing, and their monopolistic attempts to control boxing. Yeah, because they're pissed off that they're taking the monopoly out of their hands, you know? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, don't people see this? Are we the only ones that see this? I mean, do people really buy into this crap?
Well, what's a little bit even more comical is that you got the WBC in the lead, and then the assholes that follow behind them, like the IBF, the WBA. At least I give the WBO and whoever else credit for not even being there. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because you see, I gotta give. I guess it's Paco at the WBO. I guess that's the only one who of the major sanctioning. He did not even become a part of it because Mauricio Suleiman now, he stepped right into where his father was because, you know, Jose Suleiman always thought that he was the god of boxing. You know that.
Oh, I know
Regardless.
that. I know that.
And right away, you know, they want to push all of that WBC shit, you know, what's the scoring, you know, after the 4th round, the 8th round or whatever, you know, you'll see the scoring and all that crap, okay? And I guess now all of the others going to follow right behind the WBC with their bullshit.
Right.
It's ridiculous, man.
No,
I mean, and all of them call themselves leaders of boxing. Did you see the picture? I mean, isn't it comical? These are the leaders of boxing.
These are the guys. It's. Remember, you and I talked about this once before.
Yeah, I know.
And the thing is that you know how people you got that customary pose, you know, the fist and everything, you know, and and that's a fan. You know, you do it all the time. I see people want to get pictures taken with you and everything else, and that's okay, right? But you know, when you're supposed to be somebody involved and you're with a colleague, not you know, a fan, a colleague. Those kinds of poses that's unprofessional in my opinion.
Those kinds of poses tell the story, okay? they tell the story of what's missing in these guys. You know, the psychologists, I don't know if these guys didn't get enough time with their moms on breastfeeding or whatever, you know, that they're missing. But there's stuff missing in their lives. And, you know, it really galls me that the most masculine of sports, boxing and I would say football, and you have to include MMA now, but that's a form of fighting, okay? These guys, who was it? Was it one of the fighters? One time it was a quote where they say that the mice rule the men or something of that nature, where they were talking about how the fighters, the real gladiators, are like the weaklings are being taken advantage of by the real weaklings. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. When you look at these guys that are supposed to be the leaders and those who mandate all of these things for the fighters, that, you know, you have to fight this fight to become rank number this and that. And did you ever see some of these guys that are involved in these sanctioning organizations?
Yeah, they have a lot of them have the Napoleon syndrome. You know, they're 5'3".
It is a joke.
They were probably picked on in school all the time.
Yeah, and it's amazing how they have ascended. They have ascended to the leadership of the most masculine of all sport, boxing.
Right.
Doesn't that kind of really get to you, man?
But it's our fault because we let them get in it. I mean, there is no other business, sport, or anything that is like boxing. If you have a checkbook and there's some money in that account, you're in. That's basically all you need in this sport, and it sucks, but it's true. You know,
man, these guys they make some nice money. You know, these guys got like lifetime jobs as long as it keeps going, and they make some nice money, you know.
Oh, I know.
You know, the heads of these organizations, these guys make six-figure salaries every week. Every other week.
I know. You know, the thing that bothers me about the WBC is you know, they want to. I'm okay with somebody wanting to, you know, be the top dog, so to speak. So, you know, but my hang up is that, you know, they say these things like in other words, they're trying to discredit every other sanctioning body, but yet, you know, they have one, and this is fresh in my mind. They are promoting a fight right now. David Rodriguez, who's a heavyweight, who used to be undefeated. He never fought anybody of note until his last fight, which was a marginal fighter knocked him out, you know, and exposed him. And they're giving him a chance to fight for the WBC Latino Heavyweight Championship, okay? And they're promoting it, and the WBC has already approved it, but the kicker is there's no opponent listed yet. It's against the TBA, so how can you, trying to jam that, you have so much credibility down my throat that you sanction a fight where there's no opponent yet? I mean, Don't they even have any scruples where they look at the opponent and say this guy's good, this guy's not good, and they're already they got their sanctioning fee, so they don't care if you or me get in the ring with this guy. You know,
comical, man.
It is.
It's really comical. Nothing surprises me with these sanctioning organizations now, and it's gotten to a point now where nobody objects anymore. I mean, you know, there's nothing. Seems like there's nothing you can do about it now.
Yeah, no, they especially the young fans, it's not their fault. I try to stick up for them because it's not their fault. It's all they know. I mean, I even have guys that watch the show and listen in the chat room that think the more belts, the better, you know. And the same guy just says, what's wrong with the WBC investing money to make money? They're missing the point. You know, it's not the fact that it's an investment. It's the fact that you're taking money from a pool that you're claiming is going back to better the sport, and you're building...
They're bastardizing the sport.
But you're building hotels where you're making a profit that goes in your bank account, not the WBC.
Man, it's what they're doing to the sport.
It's not... That whole chain that they're doing now isn't to put money back into the WBC. It's to put money into the the powers that be in the WBC's pocket, and that's the truth. Right. I mean, come on, man. Anyway, before we get all even worse, there's a real good fight this weekend, and I tell you, I made my selection already, and I'm going to be breaking it down here in a little bit. But Terrence Crawford going up against Yuriorkis Gamboa. Yeah. You know, Terrence Crawford, Larry, is a fighter that, you know, when he first came onto the scene, at least you know, publicly on TV, he was brought in to lose to Breedis Prescott, you know, and the kid won, and they kind of looked to have him lose every fight since then, you know, including the last one when he had to go to Scotland and beat Ricky Burns. I think this kid is the real deal, but he's stepping in with Gamboa, who's got a lot to prove. You know, I love both these guys. I had a real hard time making my pick. Who do you think is going to win? I think
Gamboa is going to win that.
Why? Why?
I just think that Gamboa brings more to the table. You know, he's tough, you know, and I think that, again, Terrence Crawford, they've carefully selected him from Gamboa, but I think this time he's going to lose for real. You know, this Gamboa, that's 50 Cent's fighter, you know. So he's looking to get him right, you know, lined up for a championship fight and move him on up. And I think that I just think that he's a better fighter than Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, you know, but Terrence Crawford, you know, he does have good defensive ability. He does have good counter, and he's got some pop.
And he tries, but I just think, you know, Gamboa's not a bad fighter. You know.
No, I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
But the thing about Gamboa is when they let Gamboa be Gamboa, he's great. When he tries, I kind of compare it to, like, when you get a college quarterback, you know, like what they tried to do with Randall Cunningham, what they tried to do with Michael Vick, what they're going to try to do with Johnny Manziel. You know, in college, they run around the field like a cockroach, you know, and they make things happen.
They try to make them sit in the pocket.
And then they come to the NFL. You can't do that. You're going to get hurt, son. You got to stand in the pocket. And here's a guy that never did that in his life, and now he's got to do it. And they're never the same. Well, I look at Gamboa like that. They try to tell him, you got to be cautious. You got to keep your hands up. And he ends up getting dropped when those flash knockdowns. He's never been hurt. Then he gets up and he becomes the regular old Gamboa because he resorts back to what comes naturally, and that Gamboa is going to be a tough out.
Yeah, well, I think if they give him his freedom to be himself, you know, he'll be a much better fighter, and that's probably the way they're going to go with him now. But I pick him. I really think that he'll beat Crawford, though.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards him, but Errol Spence, young fighter, who I like what they've been doing with him. They have been increasing his level of opposition, and they're doing it again. Ronald Cruz is a decent fighter, by far the best one Errol Spence has been in with so far. How do you see that one going on Showtime?
Well, you know, if Cruz is in good shape, he's going to be a real test for Spence. You know, if he's in good shape, you know, because, you know, a lot of times, I mean, they're pretty close in skill wise. I don't see much of an edge one way or another. So I think conditioning will be the you know, the telling factor in that particular fight.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good fight for Spence. I think it's a good showcase fight. You know, one last thing I wanted to ask you, Larry. You know, we were talking about WBC and stuff, and you know, Golden Boy Promotions, they got their little you know, upset apple cart going on with Oscar and Richard Schaefer leaving, and
well, he's being sued now for about $50 million.
Right. Well, it's not it's like a contract that this guy, and that makes you wonder when a guy puts something like that, a clause like that in his contract where you can't go to court, you got to go to an arbitrator. You know, it makes you wonder, like, you know, if he planned this from day one. But anyway, you know, it's showing a lot of things. You know, there's been some knocks on Oscar and stuff. And, you know, I see a guy that's clearly had some problems outside the ring. But I also see a guy that is showing that it's his game, man. It's his business. He's making the decisions. And in addition to him fighting the front of the Schaefer situation, well, the WBC He announces the Danny Garcia fight against Rod Solika at the Barclays Center in August, and the next day the WBC publishes a report saying that he's not fighting Solika, that he's fighting someone else because of the ranking, and Solika's not ranked, and they're not going to accept it. So they're basically telling Oscar he's wrong, and Oscar says, "Screw you! I'm still fighting. I'm still putting in who I want him to fight." What's your thoughts on the WBC? Are they getting? Are they stepping out of their lane? Are they overstepping?
Yeah, hooray for Oscar! See,
right?
See, and,
right.
and I was going to say, I thought you were gonna go the other way with Schaefer. You know, I like what Oscar's doing. He's standing his ground, okay, against Schaefer. I got to say that first, because you know Oscar had his own little personal problems, okay, and I think that. I can't say for sure, but, you know, all of a sudden, you know, his company is about to be taken over by someone he trusted. Am I right? Okay? So now Oscar's fighting back. Now, as far as this WBC situation, hooray for Oscar. Once again, Oscar is telling them, hell with whatever you say. This is the guy who my man is fighting, and I don't care what you say. This is the way it's going to go. You follow me?
Yeah.
And if more of these guys were to stand up like that, okay, then maybe the real fighters, the promoters, the people who really have earned their place in the sport will gain control of it again. You know what I mean? And I hope what Oscar did, maybe some of these other guys will, you know, take a page out of Oscar's book when their turn comes. You got to send that message back to them.
I agree, and fighters like, you know, when you know, I'm critical of Floyd Mayweather for certain things and stuff, but a guy like Floyd, a guy like Manny Pacquiao, you know,
those are the guys that could do it.
Those are the guys that could say, I don't need a belt. You think that Floyd Mayweather could announce, and it doesn't matter. We all see and criticize who he fights, and it doesn't matter. He still gets, you know, millions and millions of dollars per fight.
Right.
And
right.
You know, do you think that his pay-per-view sales would go down if he said, screw you, I don't need a belt? You know, he's above the belts. The belts don't mean what they used to anymore.
The sales will probably go up.
Probably. People would respect him more. You know, back when there was only one belt for each division, the belt, holding on to that belt meant something. Today, it doesn't. You know, it really doesn't. So a guy like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, et cetera, even Saul Alvarez is doing it with the Lara fight. You know, they could still make the best money in the sport and not need the sanctioning bodies. I think if they set the example and put their foot down, maybe we would see more young fighters feel the same way, and then hopefully the networks follow suit. Because if it wasn't for the networks, you know, forcing these BS titles, I don't think the perception of needing a belt on the line would be as strong.
Hey, well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If they told these sanctioning organizations to take those belts and shove them right up their asses, you understand? And they did it in a collective way with the superstars of the sport and the networks together, okay, I put my money on them, okay? The sanctioning bodies will then, you understand, will understand where the real power in the sport is. Right now it's the other way around. You know, they've made the belt. They made these belts, you know, bigger than the fighters. And so the sanctioning organization, these heads of these sanctioning organizations, feel that they can dictate any way they want. So hooray for Oscar.
Exactly. And you know what? You know, like I've said, I think you and I talked about it, I want to be a belt manufacturer. They're the only ones making money in this business because really. They produce so many friggin' belts that, you know, I mean, geez, I don't know. I think they're surpassing the auto industry. I don't know, man. But anyway, listen, Larry, I appreciate you coming in on Friday. Next week, we're actually going to be here on Thursday. But I got some stuff to talk to you about. A lot of things going on. So hopefully we can do that mid-July, my man.
Okay, good enough. Okay,
all right,
Billy.
We'll talk to you next week, man. Enjoy the fight.
Okay, be safe. Okay, Billy.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
That's
care. Larry Hazard giving us his thoughts. And, hey, you know, you wonder why I love the guy? Because he doesn't pull any punches either. Hey, listen, I'm not even going to take a break. I want to get into some news, and Larry and I were just talking about this. Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions has began an arbitration. It's a different version of a lawsuit for $50 million. The bottom line is that Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, is suing or going to arbitration Richard Schaefer because he feels that he still has Richard Schaefer under contract until 2018. Schaefer decided that he walked away, and basically Oscar De La Hoya just said if he thinks he could just turn around and walk away and with no repercussions, he's definitely mistaken. He, too, is dragging some things about or pertaining to Al Heyman in this. Now, this would be the second major stab at Al Heyman in the court system. As you recall, Kathy Duva has brought up, she got her hands on one of Al Heyman's contracts. Now, I said this last week that I believe that this is going to hurt Al Heyman. Right now, Al Heyman is kind of flying under the radar. He calls himself an advisor, but yet it appears, and rumor has it, that his contract verbiage is more of a manager / promoter. And by the way, if he is that, then he should be subject to the commission licensing and whatever other policies they have to hold those licenses as a promoter or a manager. But more than that, he would have to adhere to the Muhammad Ali Act, which, according to several reports, his contracts do not. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds with all of that. And then the other part of this, just like Larry said, attaboy for Oscar De La Hoya. Now, we talked about this last week when the WBC, Oscar De La Hoya said, hey, we're going to have a fight. Danny Garcia is going to defend his titles. Remember, he's got multiple titles against Rod Salika in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center on August 9th. The very next day, the WBC comes out and says, no, he's not. He's not fighting him. He's fighting somebody else because he's not ranked. So, we're telling, and they put it on their website, a fight poster that said that Danny Garcia is fighting who they want him to fight at the Barclays Center. And today was pretty much the best move that I feel Oscar has made. He announced that they're having a press conference on Wednesday, July 2nd. And what are they doing? They're officially announcing the Danny Garcia versus Rod Salika fight on Showtime. So basically, Oscar De La Hoya is not being pushed around. Whether the guy wears pantyhose and high heels or not, it doesn't matter. He's not letting these guys push him around. And I applaud Oscar. I really do. And I'm glad because just like Larry said a few minutes ago, we need more of this, man. We need more of these guys to stand on their own 2 feet and have the do the right thing. And listen, don't get me wrong. Every promoter is out to make money. If you think, and I know that some of these fans that just are blind, the money team fans, they think, Floyd is out for the goodness of the fighters, and Al Heyman only cares about the fight. If you really believe that, I got a whole inventory of bridges for sale, and I'll be glad to show you several of them in your area. So, come on, man. Come on. You may not have fallen off the turnip truck when you were born, but maybe yesterday you slipped off. I don't know, man. But anyway, just to follow up with the Garcia-Rod Salika, there have been some quotes about this fight that is going to be officially announced on Wednesday. But Danny Garcia said, this is my 3rd fight at the Barclays Center, and it feels like my second home. I'm going to be ready for Salika. I'm going to give my Brooklyn fans another great show. Salika says, this is the biggest stage I've ever fought in my career, but that doesn't intimidate me. Danny Garcia is beatable, and I'm going to show the world how it's done. My experience has prepared me to do this. and I'll be ready on the 9th. Lamont Peterson, who's also going to be on the card, taking on Edgar Santana Banana, says, I'm real excited about this fight, and I'm making a statement to the boxing world that I'm the true junior welterweight champ. I know Danny will be watching me, and I'll be watching him, because after August 9th, there will only be one fight left to make at 140, and of course, he's alluding to a matchup with Danny Garcia. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, earlier in the week, we got actually Dax was telling me that Gabe Rosado and Brian Vera were set to fight, and I couldn't find it anywhere, and then I found out why. They're not fighting in the boxing ring; they're fighting in the bare knuckle boxing ring, and it's scheduled for August 16th. It is now. I did do these. It's called the BKB. B is in boy, K is in Cart, I guess Kareem, yeah, K is in Kareem, and B is in boy. BKB, bare knuckle boxing, it stands for. And I've seen one of them. I think this might be the third one out already, but I saw one of them and I loved it. But it's kind of on the down low, and the reason is that they record them and then they play them. It's not live. So this is actually slated to take place live on August 16th. I don't know if it's going to be available to get on TV, and you can only get it on DirecTV or on August 16th, or if the fight's going to be available on August 16th, and then we got to watch it at a later date. I don't know, but that is the main event. Both Gabe Rosado and Brian Vera will be fighting at 160 pounds, and they'll be fighting for the BKB, bare knuckle boxing middleweight title. So interesting stuff. And if you're curious about it, I did a write-up under my column on BillyCBoxing.com on the one that I saw. And I was pretty extensive about it, and check it out, and you'll get my thoughts on it. Paul Spadafora, who cares, but he's returning to the ring July 11th. He's coming off his first loss. He's going to be taking on Hector Velacruz, who's got a record of 56 wins, 21 losses, and 3 draws. And he's been around about 97 years. That's the typical weak opponent that Paul Spadafora takes. So we'll see him get another W there. Emmanuel Taylor and Kareem Mayfield are set to get in the ring. That's taking place in New York at the Paramount in Huntington, Long Island on July 18th. It's a Star Boxing event. Looks like it's going to be a good matchup. And also that night, Star Boxing is going to give a tribute to their new world champion, Chris Algieri. So if you're in the New York area, July 18th. Is where you want to see that one. Glenn Tapia returns to the ring on July 26th, and he's going to be taking on Boyd Melson with a lot on the line. Both of these guys are up-and-comers. Glenn Tapia is 21-1. They settled on an agreement, and it looks like the fight is going to be taking place in Cancun, Mexico, no later than September 6th. So it's going to either be on September 6th or before September 6th, so we'll keep you posted on that one. It was reported that Bob Arum is looking to do another card, and he was interviewed recently, and he's really high on the featherweight division right now, and he's got a good reason to. He's got Lomachenko, he's got Donaire. He's hoping that maybe eventually he can get a showdown there. Plus, also Vitika, the guy who Donaire beat. A lot of people would love to see a rematch. That kind of ended on a sour note. And it's been reported that Bob Arum is considering putting together a featherweight tournament, which I kind of love, man. I kind of love that. So, anyway, have you heard the stuff that's going on with Vladimir Klitschko and Kubrat Pulev? Kubrat Pulev is a guy that basically fought the B list of fighters to position himself as a mandatory for the IBF, and he finally got the shot, and he's scheduled to fight Klitschko. And all of a sudden, Pulev, who's promoted by the guys who are Sauerland events duck their fighters duck more fighters than Floyd Mayweather even considers. So how critical we are of Floyd ducking opponents. Sauerland events collectively ducks more than the best duck pond you ever want to see. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. And Pulov's one of their guys, and they're making a big deal about drug testing for this fight. Now they're demanding that Vladimir Klitschko take Olympic-style drug testing, and I have a hang-up with this. Number one, Klitschko, he's never tested positive for anything. I don't think anybody's ever accused him of it. The guy stays in good shape all the time. And, his point is that they're following the rules and regulations of the commission that they're fighting under. And if those rules required Olympic-style testing, then they would adhere to it. This guy is making a big deal. Team Pulov is making a big deal of it and wants all this extra stuff. I will say this. It never looks good when a fighter doesn't want to take the tests. I understand Klitschko's point. They don't want to give up any consolation to Pulev, no matter what it is. They want to dictate the terms, just like Floyd wants to dictate the terms and Manny wants to dictate the terms. When you get to that upper echelon, you get to do that. And I think that, as a fighter, when you give up a concession, when you give up something, it's kind of like a mental victory for your opponent. And the whole idea is to limit those mental victories as much as you can. And I think it's more of that. I think it's kind of a slap in the face to Klitschko and a disrespectful comment to even suggest that this guy has been so successful because he's cheating. I mean, you could say a lot about Klitschko. He's boring. Maybe he doesn't fight enough. I mean, there's not much you can say negative about Vladimir Klitschko, really, whether you like him or not. But one thing that has never been brought up to me is that the guy cheats. And, I'm losing. I never had much respect for Pulov or his team, but I'm losing it even what little bit I had. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. And speaking about wait and seeing, Bobby Hits and Square Ring Promotions just aren't letting this go. According to them, they claim they have an ironclad contract, and they actually scheduled a injunction hearing against Fresequendo July 1st, which is not this coming Tuesday. Yeah, it is. It's this coming Tuesday. Now, what that means, now it's taking place in Chicago. Now, what it means, because Oquendo's already going to be in Russia, all right? But what it means is if they win it, if the court issues an injunction, then if Fresequendo goes on with this fight, which he's obviously going to do, then he's going to be held in contempt of court. Big deal. This guy's probably making more money than he ever made in his career. I mean, we all know what contempt of court is. They keep you for a day or two. It's not like they're going to put you in with the worst criminals. Contempt of court is just it's a BS thing anyway. I can't stand it. But they're looking to get a temporary restraining order, and if they get it and he's still in Russia, he gets held in contempt. So, what's Fresequendo's comment? What's his feeling about this? Well, if you caught what's going on in Grozny, where they're holding this, which is the Russian place that they're having this fight. They make a comment that even K2 Promotions, Klitschko, is green with envy of how much this whole city has transformed and is supporting this Ruslan Chagayev against Fresequendo fight. I don't know if you caught any of the photos that are all over the internet, but they have strung boxing ropes along the streets, so it looks like a giant ring. They have humongous images of the fighters all up and down the streets. They even transformed the buildings around the arena to look like boxing equipment and stuff. I mean, they are pulling out all the stops. They're even bringing in generator big trucks with generators to accommodate all the electricity that they're going to use because the infrastructure of their electricity setup can't handle it. They said that there's going to be so much lighting that you will be able to see this town from outer space. So they already have 30,000 tickets sold for this event. So and the best part is the president of the Czechian president, Ramazan Kadyrov. He was a big boxing fan. He sparred with Chigayev, man. I don't know if you saw the video. He's sparring with him. I mean, you got to love it, man, and I do. I'm jealous more than K2 Promotions would be because, I could only dream about that kind of stuff happening here in the United States, man, where we cater that much to a boxing event. I mean, you absolutely have to love it. One other thing I wanted to mention before we get into these fights and the breakdowns and the predictions and all of that stuff. Chinese amateur heavyweight Zhang Zhihili is turning pro on August 8th. Now, this guy is a silver medalist, and he's under the promotions of Dynasty Promotions, who's run now by Dino Duva. Dino Duva, yes, the brother-in-law of Kathy Duva and the son of Lou Duva. It's going to be televised on ESPN's Friday Night Fights, and we'll get to see what happens there. But this guy, if he's the guy I'm thinking about, I believe he's 7 feet tall or pretty close to it. So we'll see what happens on that one. So we'll see what goes on. Now, I got some final press conference quotes. First, for the fights that are taking place tomorrow, Terence Crawford against Gamboa. Crawford said Saturday's going to be a great fight. I never overlook an opponent. I train my heart out because you never know with boxing. Anything might happen, but I assure you that I trained the hardest I could. I'm ready for whatever he brings to the table. Gamboa says, my congratulations to the U.S. soccer team for advancing to the knockout stage of the World Cup. I'd like to thank Terence and his team for accepting this challenge, and I look forward to fighting him on Saturday. Now, Ron Stander, he was the guy who fought and was part of the last championship fight in Omaha, Nebraska. In 1972, he challenged Joe Frazier for Joe Frazier's world heavyweight title, and he was present too. And he stood up and he said, and I quote, this is Ron Stander, he says, 42 years ago, when I had my chance, Frazier didn't beat me. The doctor stopped the fight because I got a couple of little cuts. I was ready to go all night, inside, outside the alley, whenever. Spoken like a true fighter. You got to love that. They also said, Gamboa went on to say, I'm anxious to get to this fight. Throughout my training camp, I met all the objectives I needed for our game plan for this fight, and I'm just excited to get back in the ring. He says they asked him about Crawford's height. He says, hey, just going back through my career, I've been pretty much a smaller guy in all my fights, so I really don't think it's something that's going to affect me in any way, shape, or form. I know how to adjust. I know how to come with a game plan, and something I've been dealing with ever since my amateur career. I've always been the smaller guy. Terence Crawford says the guys he's fought and seen, I'm sure they don't have the same style as me. They probably have similar styles, but I don't feel there's anyone out there with the same exact style as me. So we're just going to see on Saturday. When they asked him about fighting in hometown, did he have any distractions? He says, I don't have any of that. I didn't have to sell tickets. I don't have to worry about shirts. I don't have to do nothing. He says, nobody can call me. They can't come to me. I'm not worried about distractions. We've been keeping a low profile. Now, we got the Errol Spence fight against Ronald Cruz, and I got some quotes from those guys, including the co-main event between Dominic Wade and Nick Brinson. Nick Brinson said there's a lot of things he doesn't do that well that I do well. He's the favorite fighter, and I don't want to take anything from him, because I want all the credit when I beat him. Dominic Wade, he says, I don't think too highly of him. He just throws those little punches in bunches, but they are all wild. I plan on keeping it short and simple. The Errol Spence against Ronald Cruz fight. Ronald Cruz says, I got a good trainer that's shown me all the tricks on how to beat a southpaw, so it's no big deal. I actually like it better. Not only my right hand, but my left works better on a southpaw. He's young. He's obviously hungry, and he's on his way to being a world champion. I just feel they took this fight at the wrong time. It's too soon. It's too early for him. Errol Spence says this is a 10-rounder. So I'm just going to do a lot more rounds of sparring now, like we're doing 10 or 12. I think Ronald Cruz is a good, durable fighter. He comes forward with his hands up. He tries to counterpunch a bit, but I fight guys like that all the time. I spar guys like that every day. I won't have to look for him because he's going to be right there in front of me. I'll just counter off his shots and look for the openings. A lot of good comments from these guys as we get close to the we see. We got a result here, and they're according to my man Jack. It looks like Ricky Burns just lost a split decision in Scotland. Amazing, and I'm going to have to admit that I lost that fight because that's one of the fights that I picked, and I obviously went with Ricky Burns. So I lost that one, but. Anyway, I will give you my breakdowns, and I'll minus that one since it's already taken place. But the first one is a pretty good matchup, too. Argenis Lopez against Darley Perez. Darley Perez is a former world title challenger. He's got a record of 29 wins, 19 coming by knockout with only one loss in which he was never stopped, and that happened to have been his world title shot against Gamboa. He's 30 years old, which is 6 years older than his opponent, and he's also got 11 more pro fights than his opponent. He's ranked by the computer at number 43 as a junior welterweight, not as a lightweight. He's 5'7", 68-inch reach, 145 rounds of pro to 63% knockout ratio. He did go 12 with Gamboa, and he's got some impressive wins over Bagahir Mabajanov, Oscar Miza, and Jose Reyes. He's fought tough opposition. He fought 3 times in 2013, and his last fight was only 6 months ago. Now, Perez steps in with Argenis Lopez. He's 19-0 with 7 knockouts. He's ranked in the lightweight division at number 252. He's got the 3-inch height advantage over Perez. He's 5'10". He's only 24 years old. He's got 89 rounds with a 35% knockout ratio. His last 6 fights, which took place between 2012 and 2013, all against good opposition. He's 6-0 with 4 of the wins coming by knockout. His last fight was December of last year. He did fight 3 times in 2013 against deep and decent opposition. His last fight also was about 6 months ago. Who am I going to pick? I'm picking Perez in this one. Now, I originally had another fight on the challenge, Konstantin Ponomarov, but they changed the opponent. I had him listed fighting Hector Munoz, and that fight has changed. I had already submitted it, so we're scratching that from the list altogether. So instead of having 12 fights, we're going to have 11. So the next one I'm going to pick is Mikhail Zawiski against Prince Doku Jr. Prince Doku Jr., he's 27 years old. He's ranked at welterweight at number 699, 18 wins, 5 losses in which he was stopped twice. He's got 12 of his wins coming by knockout, 5'11" inches tall, 71.5-inch reach. His last 2 fights were against good opposition. That's the good news. The bad news is he lost to both of them. He got blown out in 1 round by Frankie Gomez, and he lost a 6-round decision against Jose Benavidez. His 5 losses, opponents combined record 44 wins, only 1 loss, 1 draw. He did have 3 of those fighters with not that much experience. 2-0 with a draw, 7-0 and 2-1, and then 2 other fighters, 15-0 and 18-0. Those are his 5 losses. His 18 wins, check this out. His combined opponent's record of his 18 wins, 7 wins, 78 losses, and 2 draws. Now he steps in the ring with Mikhail Zwiski, I should say, is 23-0 with 18 knockouts. He's ranked at number 48 in the middleweight division, welterweight division. He's 25 years old, 5'10", 82 rounds as a pro with a 78% knockout ratio. His biggest win, in my opinion, was against Daniel Sostri back in 2013. He's been in with a collection of older journeyman fighters that don't fare well against young up-and-coming fighters. And guess what? He's in the same kind of fight this week, and that's why I'm picking Zwiski to beat Prince Doku Jr. The next fight was a real tough one for me to pick. Willie Lyman against Curtis Woodhouse. Lyman is a Commonwealth junior welterweight champ. He is fighting at home. He was on this card, so the result is probably already over, but I'm going to give you my breakdown anyway. He's 35 years old, 5'7", 256 rounds as a pro with a 24% knockout ratio. His last fight was a little over a year ago. Willie Lyman, 37-4 with 10 knockouts, and of his 4 losses, he was stopped 3 times. His last 2 fights, both in 2013, was actually versus the best opponents in his career that he actually beat. He's got a lot of his losses against good fighters. He fought 6 times in 3 years, 4 wins, 2 losses, 1 win by knockout, 1 loss by knockout. He did get knocked out by Eric Morales back in 2010. He got knocked out by Amir Khan, and he lost to Alex Arthur, all by knockout. Now, Lyman steps in with Curtis Woodhouse. Curtis Woodhouse is the British junior welterweight champ. His record, 22 wins, 13 coming by knockout with 6 losses in which he was stopped twice. He's a bit older. He's 34 years old. He's ranked at number 29 in the world in junior welterweight, 5'8", 146 rounds as a pro with a 46% knockout ratio. His last fight was against a good opponent, but the previous 2 fights were against very weak opponents. He's got losses against Derry Matthews, Shane Singleton, and Frankie Gavin. This is also the guy that tracked down an internet troll by getting people to narc out where this guy lived on Twitter, and he went to the guy and knocked on his door. Hey, for that reason alone, I'm picking Curtis Woodhouse. Like I said, the fight's probably already over, and I'm picking Woodhouse. As far as the Dejan Zlaticayan against Ricky Burns fight, there's no sense in me breaking it down. I lost. I picked Ricky Burns. Obviously, there's some problems with Team Burns. He lost a split decision thanks to my man Jack, who filled us in on that. So I'll move right past that, just like we're moving right past our break. The next fight I'm looking at is a heavyweight matchup. That's a tough one as well. Gerald Washington going up against Travis Walker. Washington is undefeated at 12-0 with 9 knockouts. He started late. He's 32 years old already with only 12 pro fights. He's ranked at number 40 in the world at heavyweight. He's 6'5", 82-inch reach, 37 rounds as a pro with a 75% knockout ratio. Of his 12 wins, 3 that I give him credit for: Sherman Tank Williams in 2013, Jerry Forrest, who just lost his second pro fight recently, and Skip Scott was his last fight that he had in April. Skip Scott wants a rematch, and they didn't like the stoppage and all that happy stuff. But for a 12-fight heavyweight, he's been in pretty tough. At least 5 of his last 6 fights. His first 6 opponents were normal opposition, combined records of 4 wins, 12 losses, and a draw. Now he steps in with a guy that was a former top 5 world-ranked contender in Travis Walker. Travis Walker is 35 years old. He's ranked at number 82 in the world at heavyweight, 6'4.5", 82-inch reach, 196 rounds as a pro with a 61% knockout ratio. His record, 39 wins, 31 coming by knockout with 11 losses. 7 of those were via stoppage, and he does have a draw. His last win came over 2 years ago when he knocked out Cali Meehan in the second round. He's lost a ton of fights in between, 4 in a row, as a matter of fact, all against decent opposition: Lucas Brown, Mike Perez, Derek Rossi, Tomas Adamak. It depends which guy shows up in this fight, but I'm assuming that Travis Walker has taken on the opponent attitude, and I'm looking for Gerald Washington to beat this guy and move up in the rankings. So I'm picking Gerald Washington. In another tough fight, Jack just ruined it again for me. I'm having the worst week of the year so far with my picks. He just told me that Curtis Woodhouse lost. So right off the bat, out of 11, I lost 2 so far. So, everybody has a bad week every now and then, and I've been on a tear lately, and it looks like my winning ways are coming to an end this week, and maybe I'm going to get some more losses here in a minute. But Nick Brinson going up against Dominic Wade. Nick Brinson, I like this kid. I was ringside when he fought Jorge Melendez in a really good fight. I think the referee in that fight did a great job at giving Brinson a second chance. It was my man Charlie Fitch. So he won that fight. I think it was the best fight of his career. His record is 16 wins, 1 loss, in which he was stopped in a couple of draws. He's ranked at number 44 in the world by the computer as a middleweight, 26 years old, 5'11", 107 rounds as a pro. He also won a tough fight against Jose Medina, and Marcus Williams was a good win. His lone loss came at the hands of Lennox Allen, which he got knocked out in 2010 to a 12-1 fighter in Allen. Now he steps in with Dominic Wade. Dominic Wade is 15-0 with 11 knockouts. He's 24 years old. He's ranked at number 51 in the world at middleweight. He's 5'10.5 inches tall, 74.5-inch reach, 38 rounds as a pro with a 73% knockout ratio. His last 3 fights were against tough guys, but guys that they're tough but they lose, like Marcus Upshaw, Deshaun Johnson, and Roberto Ventura. His best win of his career, in my opinion, was against Troy Lowry back in 2010. On paper, this fight tells you to go with Nick Brinson, but for some reason I'm going with Dominic Wade. I think I'm getting beat up bad this week with the fights, but I'm picking Dominic Wade on that one. In another tough one, Matt Korobov is going up against Jose Uzcategui, and Korobov is 23-0 with 14 knockouts. The computer ranks him at number 15 in the world at middleweight. The WBO's got him at number 3. The WBA's got him at number 12. The WBC has got him at number 14, and the IBF has him at number 9. When was the last time you saw a ranked fighter ranked in all 4 of the major organizations? 5'11", 70-inch reach, 108 rounds as a pro with a 64% knockout ratio. I'm sorry, 61%. He's got some good wins against good fighters: Derek Edwards, Grady Brewer, Ozzy Duran, Milton Munoz, Latif Monday, also Lester Gonzalez, Michael Walker, Derek Finley, James Winchester. This guy's been in tough from his very first pro fight. He's got good wins against good opponents. Korobov steps in with Jose Uzcategui, and Categui's got 22-0 record, 18 coming by knockout. He's ranked at number 11 in the world by the computer at middleweight. I find that hard to believe. He's not ranked by us. By the way, we rank Korobov at number 22. He's not ranked by us, and he's not ranked by anyone else. No other sanctioning body, but the computer somehow tabulates him at the 11th as the 11th best middleweight in the world. He's 23, 59 rounds as a pro and an 82% knockout ratio. He does have 3 wins as far as I can see: Rogelio Medina, Michelle Rosales, and David Alonso Lopez. He's never fought anybody or any time outside of Mexico. He will be fighting outside of Mexico this time. I know he's on the A side, but I'm picking Korobov in this fight. I think Matt Korobov is going to win this one. So I'm picking Matt Korobov. Ryan Kiluzewski going up against Ramsey Luna. Kiluzewski is undefeated, 19-0 with 4 knockouts. He's ranked at number 119th in the world at super featherweight. He's 24 years old, 5'8", 103 rounds as a pro with a 21% knockout ratio. He's got a couple of good wins: Miguel Soto, Willie Villanueva, a good. Out of his 19 fights, those are the 2 I look at good. I think this guy has fought extremely weak opposition. I don't know what the big thing about him is. He's been overprotected. He's a typical Lou DiBella guy. This guy gets his shot by never staying. This guy, he's going to get his shot at a world title by never fighting anybody at the top. He's fighting all these kind of hand-picked opponents that look like they're good, and he steps in with Ramsey Luna, who's exactly that bill, fits that bill. He's ranked at number 378 in the lightweight division, yet he's only got one loss. He's 12-1 with 5 knockouts. He's 22, 2 years younger and a little bit bigger, only 66 rounds as a pro. He's never fought anybody with that's even remotely decent. His combined opponent's record for 13 fights, 49 wins, 115 losses and 4 draws. And remember, the best guy he fought was an 8-0 fighter that he lost to. Who's going to win? Ryan Kizilewski. The next fight that I'm picking is the Ivan Reddick fight against Sergey Gulaevich. And Reddick is not rated by us, but the WBC has him ranked at number 9, and the IBF has him ranked at number 8. He's undefeated, 16-0 with 13 knockouts, 61 in the world by the computer, 28 years old, 53 rounds as a pro with a 76% knockout ratio. His last fight was the best one of his career, in my opinion, a 10-round unanimous decision over the 17-1 Tony Lewis. He's also got a win over Tibor Broch. Tibor Broch's record doesn't look good, but I've seen this guy fight live a couple of times, and he's really good. Despite him blowing this kid out in 1 round, I give him credit for that win. He's another DiBella built-up fighter, so you know what that means. That means we should expect an opponent just like Sergey Gulaevich. 41 wins, 2 losses, 17 coming by knockout. He's ranked at number 102 in the lightweight division. He's 33 years old, 5'10", 236 rounds as a pro. He fought 1 time so far this year against a 9-13 guy. He fought once in 2013 against a 2-1 guy, and he fought 8 times in 2012, 10 against weaker than weak opposition. Unbelievable who this guy has fought. And it's just a typical Lou DiBella opponent for one of Lou's fighters. And, hey, Ivan Reddick is going to get the win tonight. The next fight is one of the 2 tougher fights or 2 of the interesting fights of the weekend. Errol Spence against Ronald Cruz. Ronald Cruz is ranked by us at number 29. He's not ranked anywhere else by any of the sanctioning bodies. The computer has him ranked at number 51. He's still only 27 years old. He's 5'8", 72-inch reach, 125 rounds as a pro with a 65% knockout ratio. His record, 20 wins, 15 coming by knockout, and he's got 3 losses. His last fight was against Kermit Cintron, and Alex Perpalith still thinks that fight is live. So, but he lost that, a 10-round decision. And quite honestly, I think that fight could have gone either way. He's got a decent win against Hector Munoz and wins against Prentice Brewer and also Alan Conyers when Conyers was still a substantial fighter. And he's also got a win over Christopher Fernandez, who doesn't have an impressive record, but he's a good win. He had back-to-back losses against Ray Narr and Antoine Smith. He's been in somewhat tough, but the 3 losses that he has lost has been against above-average fighters, so we could see where he is. Now, he steps in with Errol Spence. Spence is 24 years old. He's ranked at number 89 in the world at welterweight. He's undefeated at 12-0 with 10 knockouts. He's a southpaw, 5'10", 72-inch reach, 29 rounds of pro with an 83% knockout ratio. He's already fought twice this year against decent opposition, Ray Charles and Pila Ulic, 12-2-2 for Charles and 12-6-2 for Ulic. The best win of his career, in my opinion, was a 8-round decision over Emmanuel Olarte when he fought him back in October of last year. Listen, this guy seems to be being moved the way I would like. They're progressively increasing his level of opposition. He seems to be getting better and better every time out. That's what you want. I think Ronald Cruz will be by far the best opponent he's faced. It's going to be a good test. Who am I picking? Errol Spence, of course. And finally, in a fight that I had a real hard time picking, Terence Crawford is going up against Gamboa. Terence Crawford is the WBO World Lightweight Champion. He's ranked at number 1 by us. and nowhere else in the rankings because he's a world champion. The computer has him at number 2. He's undefeated, 23-0 with 16 knockouts, 26 years old, 5'8", 70-inch reach, 93 rounds as a pro with a 70% knockout ratio. He won the title against Ricky Burns in Glasgow in March. Got to give him a lot of credit for that. He's also got good wins. His last 4, Andrei Kilimov, Alejandro Sanabria, and Britas Prescott, all fights he was supposed to lose, and he's come back and won. His first 19 fighters was pretty much against experienced but weak opposition, and he was looked upon as a good-looking opponent with a good record until he stepped in with Prescott. Then he has been in with better and better opposition, and he's kept winning. I like this guy. He counterpunches well. He's got hand speed. He's got movement. And he's got some pop, and he's willing to stand in there with you. Now, he stands in there tomorrow night against Gamboa. Yuriorkis Gamboa, former world featherweight, super featherweight, and lightweight champion. The computer has him not ranked because he hasn't fought in a little over a year. We have him ranked at number 9 in the world, and the WBO has him ranked at number 6. He's not ranked in the WBC, WBA, or the IBF. He's 33 years old, which is 7 years older than Crawford. He's 5'5.5", which is 2.5 inches shorter than Crawford, and he's got a shorter reach, 65-inch. 121 rounds of pro with a 70% knockout ratio. Undefeated, 23-0 with 16 knockouts. Since he's turned pro, he's fought tough opposition. His last 10 fights have all been against world-class opposition, in which he's 10-0 with 5 knockouts. 8 of those 10 were all for world titles. Who's going to win this fight? Well, you know, as much as I like Terence Crawford, I think Gamboa is just too much of a talent. I think Gamboa's got a lot of aggression, stuck inside of him. I think that he knows that this fight is everything to him, and it's not about the title. It's about, just getting back in the mainstream of the sport. And I'm picking Gamboa to do just that. I love Gamboa for a lot of reasons. He's aggressive. He's fun to watch. He's a blazing hand speed, and he's got power. And most people say, oh, well, fighters with a lot of hand speed, it's the punches that the opponent doesn't see, which puts him out. I agree with that, but Gamboa also's got some pop. I think it's going to be a great test for Crawford. And if Terence Crawford comes out of this fight with the W, I think there's a new sheriff in town at the lightweight division, and it will be a no doubt type of a sheriff. So, in no particular order, I'm picking Ivan Reddick over Sergey Gulaevich, Errol Spence over Ronald Cruz, Gamboa over Crawford, Ryan Kielczewski over Ramsey Luna, Matt Korobov over Jose Uzakatagu, Dominic Wade over Nick Brinson, Gerald Washington over Travis Walker. I already lost Ricky Burns over Dijon Zalakanian, and I lost Curtis Woodhouse over Willie Lyman. So I'm starting off 9 of 11 if I win or rest, which I doubt. So I'm probably looking at the worst week that I've had in a long time. I'm picking Miguel Zawiski over Prince Doku Jr., Argenis Lopez over Darles Perez, and that takes care of that. So a lot of tough fights this week, that's for sure. But, hey, speaking of this week, don't forget, programming note for next week, we are going to be doing a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday is July 3rd. We will not be here on July 4th. It's a holiday here in the States. And we will also be taken off to cover the events in Fort Lauderdale the following week. So we're going to take a full week off. So we'll be off Friday of next week. Then the following week, we return better than ever on Monday, July 14th. And in addition to being returning on Monday the 14th, we're going to have some big announcements. Some may be good, some may be bad, but a lot of announcements will be taking place on July 14th. Now, I will be available via email, so if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me. But it's a great opportunity all next week to catch up on some of the shows you've missed, especially if you're a premium podcast subscriber. And stay tuned for premium podcasts because we may be focusing most of our efforts in the premium podcast. So if you've been hemming and hawing about forking over $15, if you like the show, you may have no other choice pretty soon. We have not made a decision, but I will announce what we are doing on Monday, July 14th, when we come back after the 4th of July break. But anyway, that's that. And speaking of that, right now, we got it's about that time again when we get into this.
Wake up! It's time for the. It's too early for a trivia question.
Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question. Question is being brought to us by the Titty Grab game. If you're looking for a fun game to play with adults, all in the name of titties, then check out the website, www.tittygrab.com, for all the information on how you can get the game. It's a fun game. And speaking of the Titty Grab, the winner of today's trivia question is going to get our last copy of the Titty Grab game, so you get to play it yourself. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is also being brought to us in part by The Gentleman Boxer, a must-read for all boxing fans and non-boxing fans. Ian Grumeza does a great job. It's the type of book you just can't put down. You can get a copy of The Gentleman Boxer where all good books are sold, including Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, or directly from the author himself by visiting our website, www.billycboxing.com, and clicking on one of the Gentleman Boxer banners. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which is supplied to us by our very own trivia question guru himself, Henry Haskup, is a tough one. Today, I'm going to give you so many hints that if you don't get it right this time, I don't know what to say. But you got to be the first one to email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKIN BOXING. Billy at Talkin' Boxing. TALKIN BOXING.com. Here's the question. I'll give you the hints, and then you're going to be the first one to get it right. Who fought the most bouts against the same world champion without ever scoring a single win? Who fought the most bouts against the same world champion without ever scoring a single win? Here are all the hints. Number one, and there's two names here, okay? So number one, because you got to know who the champion was, and then the guy who fought him and never won. So the first hint, they both fought below the lightweight division. The second hint, they both fought prior to 1950. The next hint, the guy who lost fought the champion 10 times and never beat him once. The initials of the two fighters, I'm going to give you the initial of the guy who never won, who fought the champion 10 times. His initials are MB. And the initials of the champion that he never beat, his initials are Pancho Villa.
This day in boxing history.
Now, come on, if you don't get it right now, man, you don't want to get it right. Today's On This Day in Boxing History is being brought to us by the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame inaugural induction ceremony event, which is taking place July 10th in Fort Lauderdale. Find out all the information by visiting www.wban.com or clicking one of the posters that's up on BillyCBoxing.com. On this day, June 27th, in 1982, S.T. Gordon knocks out Carlos De Leon in the second round to win the WBC World Cruiserweight title. It took place in Highland Heights, Ohio. On this day in 1987, Matthew Hilton wins a 15-round decision over Buster Drayton to win the IBF World Junior Middleweight title. It took place in Montreal. On this day in 1999, Lakiva Sim knocks out Takanori Hatakeyama in the fifth round to win the WBA World Junior Lightweight title. It took place in Tokyo. On this day in 1902, the late, great Joe Gans knocks out George Elbows McFadden. Alex and I did a blast on him. You got to love a guy with a nickname Elbows, right? Joe Gans knocks out Elbows McFadden in the third round to retain his world lightweight title. It took place in San Francisco, California. On this day in 1970, Big Bob Foster knocks out Mark Tessman in the 10th round to retain his WBC and WBA World Light Heavyweight titles at Baltimore, Maryland. On this day, 2 years later, Big Bob Foster in 1972 knocks out Mike Quarry in the 4th round to retain his WBC and WBA World Light Heavyweight titles that took place in Las Vegas. And finally, on this day, June 27th, 1914, Jack Johnson, one of my favorite fighters of all time, wins a 20-round decision over Frank the Pittsburgh Dentist Moran to retain his world heavyweight title. It took place in Paris, France. This fight was billed as two monsters. And keep in mind, in 1914, these guys were big. Jack Johnson weighed in for this fight at 221.5 pounds, and Moran weighed in at 203. By today's standards, one is a cruiserweight and one is a small heavyweight. So, interesting stuff. Hey, man, a lot of stuff going on this weekend, a lot of good fights. Enjoy the fights, but I do have one more thing to say.